Yeah, I've been doing it for 44 years now, and it's great fun. Well, actually, my grandfather and my father were both liquor distributors. And I started off working for Shenley as a sales guy, selling mostly liquor. And while I was out doing that, the German wine craze hit the first time. So we're talking a lot of years ago. And I started to sell a little German wine. And then I went into Minneapolis, and I talked to a retailer named Jack Farrell, who had just purchased Haskell's. And I said, how do I learn about wine? And Jack, in his infinite wisdom, said, every 2 weeks when you come in for a sales meeting, come in and buy 6 bottles of wine, try them, and next time you come in, we'll talk about them and buy 6 more. So I did. So I started really getting involved with wine before the wine craze. And my career took me to Chicago. I ran a division for Sheffield and Somerset, did about $600 million. And even though we had Simi and Chandon and Moet and Dom Perignon, Ruffino, everybody assumed I was a spirit guy because I sold Johnny Walker and Dewar's and Tanqueray and Hennessy Cognac. But then I tried to buy Sam's Wine and Liquors in Chicago. And when I came out of Sam's as general manager, people assumed I was a wine guy because Sam's was the #1 wine store in the country at that time. Then I went to work for Wilson Daniels, and I came out to Napa to be the head of sales and marketing for Wilson Daniels, and I've been in the wine business ever since. And we now do 3 wines. I started just doing Oakville Cabernet, but I had more Cabernet Franc than I really needed. So I decided the best way to make my Cabernet where people really understood it was to have less Franc in it. So I created Corestone, which was my Ode de Bordeaux, 60-40 type blend with little Petit Verdot thrown in. And then I did something that I probably should have started with, is I made Cabernet Franc. I created Frankenstern. And Frankenstern, even though it's a funny name, the vineyard was a vineyard that both Parker and Tanzer said was some of the best Cabernet Franc in the world outside Olson. And it had always been a blender for other people. So starting in 2010, I actually made about 100 cases of Cabernet Franc. And I make about 100 to 150 a year. And, from my neighborhood, you got Screaming Eagle, Rudd, and Della Valle, and Phelps Bacchus, and, it goes on and on. To be a Cabernet in that mix, you can be just as good as, but to be the Franc that nobody else is, you get to stand out there and be different. What people don't understand about Franc is that it's the father of Cabernet Sauvignon. And it can be just as big and just as dense and just as bold as its offspring, except it shows more middle palate fruit than a normal Cabernet does. So it's a great play if you really understand the wine business, but a lot of people just don't get it because it's always been sort of this cherry red blender, in California. But there are some distinct vineyards that just make some unbelievable Franc. And like I say, it's the only way I could get my name Stern on the label.
Yeah, it's true.